Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sync, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. And today, it's time to talk about midfielders. And joining me, it's my distinct honour to welcome back to the channel for the third time, Jan from Football Therapy and Football Yannick. Jan, bro, how's it going, man?
Hello, mate. Yeah, hat trick for me. Delighted to be here. And, thanks for having me on, mate. The channel's looking wicked at the moment. And, looking into so much to talk about. So, looking forward to it, mate.
Nah, thanks for coming on, man. You have been specifically requested quite a few times over the summer in my comment sections, people asking me to have a chat with you. So, I'm very glad I managed to get you on. So, let's just dive straight into it, man. It's so we're a little way, well, we're most of the way through pre-season now. It's been a crazy transfer window in general. And I think for most Chelsea fans in general, there still seems to be one, not gaping hole, but there definitely seems to be a hole in the squad at the moment, and midfield is still the talked about kind of thing. That's like, what are we doing with the midfield? We've recently had a bid knocked back for Alex Scott of the 64 mil. Who knows what's going on with Enzo Fernandez? So the first thing I wanted to ask you about is Enzo Fernandez. What is your general assertion of the Enzo Fernandez situation, and do you think he could be the answer to the midfield in Xabi Alonso's system?
Well, I mean, it's got so much going on, isn't it? Because first of all, we are Englishmen, and obviously with YouTube, you have Chelsea YouTube, you have the international viewership. He obviously wound me up a little bit over the World Cup. I mean, it's fleeting and it doesn't last. But in terms of that sort of context, you got to think. Even Barco, because of the whole Jude Bellingham thing, he's going to get booed up and down the country, firstly, and you're going to have to wear that and carry that. I mean, we did get the sort of Cucurella, a bit of it, but, Enzo Fernandez will be a target of the ire, like more than he's ever been by, I can't remember him just being booed for being on the ball. I mean, it'll be very fascinating to see, but the idea is he's going to get a lot of stick from everywhere he goes. How is he going to wear that? How is that going to help or, hinder the team? He does, to me, seem like a sort of box-crashing left pocket midfielder at his best in Premier League football. I know for Benfica, in Argentina and indeed playing for the national team, he plays as sometimes a bit more deep-lying. And maybe with a manager like Alonso, who is who he is as a midfield, maestro, he might be able to repurpose him as a sort of double six partner to Caicedo behind a couple of tens. We'll see what happens there. But I think more than anything, mate, is that we might not, have a choice now. After the whole, he wanted to go to Madrid. He was desperate. I know a lot of people with good information, like Simon Phillips, was saying he's him and Pastore, who probably didn't serve him that well over the summer as his agent.
Wild stuff, man. Wild stuff.
Yeah, he's desperate to get out. Not because he hates Chelsea, just because he wants to do something else, and it's just not happened how he wanted it at Chelsea. Despite maybe the vibes are up, the new gaffer in, things are changing, which might have impressed him a little bit.
Yeah,
but he can't go to Real Madrid. They've publicly done their statement, and just because they've missed out on Rodri, I know the deal sheet on The Athletic today said, could they pivot to Enzo Fernandez? For me, you don't go and get Fernandez because you missed out on Rodri. If you're trying to solve a problem with Rodri, Fernandez isn't going to solve that problem.
No, I agree with that. Did Real Madrid not put out a statement about Rodri as well, though? Because there was a lot of links about Rodri, and then I'm sure Real Madrid came out and said, we're not interested, and then a week later, they were obviously going all in for him. So pivots are possible.
Oh, maybe. I missed that. I only saw the Enzo Fernandez one, but it would seem, obviously, Rodri's off to Barca. I don't know if he's gone already. Is he gone already? I don't know.
I'm not sure. But, it seems agreed, and with Fabrizio, and it's been a bit of a wild summer for him as well, isn't it? It's getting a bit hard to know.
Yeah. He's got a bit. I think he's got a bit early on some things, so he's probably waiting now. I think Bro Cologne are a low balling City anyway. So it might be a case of you have to freaking stay, bro. I mean, I think he wants to go because he was done with the 25% pay cut with no Champions League.
Yeah.
He wants a better contract anyway. He wants to be in a better team to win, which is sort of fair enough as a winner, but also I keep saying stuff like there is a petulance to him. He is part of this problem of ill discipline as well. Everyone is, and he's obviously a fiery character, passionate, which is good. He's been contributing to some of this stuff. And, Chelsea protected him with the whole Argentina national team scandal on the bus. They rallied around him. So I'm kind of like Fernandez agnostic at the moment. I'm sort of whatever happens.
Yeah.
But maybe Alonso gets in his ear and says, "Look, mate, I can make you amazing. Stay and play for me, and we'll see what happens." Really, but I can't give you a straight answer. I don't think he's the solution. I think if we'd signed Xhaka, I think he would have started a lot of games next to Caicedo.
Yeah. Agreed.
I think he would have started a lot of games next to Caicedo. I don't think Henderson's going to. I know Henderson's only 2 and a bit years older, but it's just that enough to be like, no.
Well, he's injured at the moment as well, isn't he? So
yeah, well, so I don't know, man. I mean, I know you probably want to talk about other players as well because there are other options there, including, dare I say, as I spoke about this morning, Reece James, because with the emergence of Palestra looking like an absolute beast in pre-season, and with, if we keep a Pedro Neto, and we know he's prepared to play Kenda and Neto as a right wing back, and Palestra, and Gusto might not go. Maybe Reece James is being earmarked as a midfielder. So
I do not see Reece James playing anything close to what we've seen Palestra do in pre-season so far. And I've kind of said this a lot at the start, since the start of the window, actually. Reece James actually is probably a better option for that Moises Caicedo partner in a Xabi Alonso system than Enzo Fernandez is. I think, like you kind of said it, like with Enzo Fernandez, you've got to repurpose him into this type of player. Because I think even with Argentina at the World Cup, like, what did Enzo Fernandez do well? Score goals in big moments. Okay, wicked, love that. But that's how often are you getting that with your deep line midfielder in general? If you look at the Bayer Leverkusen team that Xhaka played in, 2 goals and 4 assists in that entire unbeaten season. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think go on.
Sorry, I was gonna say I totally agree. And like I felt like maybe to your point, we've been sort of sounds ridiculous, not carrying Enzo Fernandez, but like accommodating Enzo Fernandez as like a sort of world class vibes player. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like he's really good. He's got an amazing winning attitude. He's a really quality player and he's a warrior. And we've been sort of like, right, we'll just crash the box and score goals rather than we're building a system here and you need to fit into that. Whereas, like you say, a 6 behind 2 10s needs to have this more physicality and ability to just stop stuff. Like Kante and Matic back in the day and beyond further back. But one thing I will say is, for that role and that one of the deeper midfielders could be Caicedo or the partner, cracking long shots now, not just to try and score, but to get corners, and then to Austin McPhee up and score amazing set pieces. Because if that becomes a weapon for us, you buy corners by having a crack, and what happens obviously the keeper can make a save, can be blocked, or they can go to a second ball, but there's a high value of scoring. Combined with getting a corner, there's still a good chunk, and then that becomes really high value to Chelsea. So Enzo could in theory do that from deep, but yeah, I think like it would be a kind of, like you say, repurposing was probably a good phraseology rather than Reece James, who's played as a CDM, he's an amazing ball player. He can play long diagonals to wing backs. And we'll see what happens there. Yeah,
really interesting. I've kind of maintained this with Enzo Fernandez, even when we had him under Enzo Maresca, that it's like, we find the best way to get the best out of him rather than build the team in a system and a manner not completely unakin to the Rob Sanchez situation, right? Where it's like Rob Sanchez is not good from playing out the back, so you don't play out the back with Rob Sanchez. Enzo Fernandez is maybe not the most astute defensive mind to be in that kind of midfield, and he likes to get forward and stuff, so you kind of build a team around that allows him to get the best out of that. But I think a really interesting point with why Enzo Fernandez maybe won't get the opportunity to do that kind of thing anymore is Morgan Rogers is probably going to be taking up those positions. Even if he's starting from the left, you look at his heat maps, he lives in the half spaces. That's literally like kind of his game. So for me, if you look at, unless you do repurpose Enzo Fernandez, when you've got 2 10s, all of a sudden you are bearing in mind you've got João Pedro who likes to drop deep as well. You are crowding those half spaces, and it's like you're going to have a hole in your midfield, and you're maybe not going to have anyone up top. And do you know what I mean? I think it's
they're different players as well. He's a direct crasher, like you say. You just did the right Morgan Rogers, Estevao, Cole Palmer, João Pedro. Even like a Nico Jackson, these guys can play in those spaces as passing and combinations. Enzo Fernandez is direct. He's a completely different profile to what Xavi wants there. So, case in point, really.
Yeah. So we'll move on to potential options, right? Because look, regardless of us having a litany of midfielders at the club at the moment and being offered Miles Lewis-Skelly today as well,
I've just seen that, yeah.
on top of Barco and obviously what's going on with Essigo and Lavia. Like, we've got midfielders. Having midfielders isn't necessarily the problem, but I think the bid for Alex Scott on its own tells you that Xabi Alonso is not happy with that position and that he wants a guy there, and Jordan Henderson evidently not going to be that guy. So the two big links, more so the more realistic one seems like Alex Scott, only because we know we've had the bid knocked back for him, but obviously there's talks about Adam Wharton as well. More recently, Zubimendi from Arsenal and Fabian Ruiz from PSG as well. So of the midfielders that we're linked with, which ones do you think are realistic, and who ideally do you think should partner Caicedo?
Well, the deal sheet this morning said Chelsea aren't going to buy a midfielder, but I think that's a public position being taken for negotiating purposes rather than the truth.
Yeah, I agree.
Just to say, I'm a huge Lavia believer. I'd get a lot of stick for it. I think he's a very unique profile in terms of, I always say on the channel how Cole Palmer said he's the most underrated footballer in the world, which is obviously, I know he's his mate, but he says like, people just don't know about Lavia. Obviously he did 90 minutes and Xabi said that it's so fascinating that he said a mental block. Yeah. Rather than, this constant, the mysterious Chelsea medical team, like, you couldn't possibly do more than 50 minutes or whatever. Like, it sounds like he's been getting tired and he needs to get past it. That's very fascinating to hear that. And you're right, Alonso, one of the first things he said when Caicedo arrived, he sort of laughed and was like, I've been missing my midfielders, because he saw Caicedo like, this is a midfielder. And I still think, like you say, he still wants more. To answer your question, I don't think there's much in the Fabian Ruiz thing personally. From what I understand is Alonso really likes Alex Scott from Bournemouth, hence the bids. But he really likes him as a terms of player. And I mean, both of us will defer to the experience of Alonso in midfield.
Of course.
But personally, I would go for Wharton. Like Adam Wharton's. Like, for me, like, in terms of these young emerging English midfielders that played for the Premier League middle class up until very recently, exclusively up until very recently, it was Elliot Anderson's the best. He starts for England, partners Declan Rice. He is a mustard footballer. He's gone to Man City for a record sum for an Englishman, until we had to just top that as a sort of token thing for Morgan Rogers. He out of them, he's the best for me. And then I'd go Wharton, then I'd go Scott. But if Scott's the profile, I know people who know a lot more about football scouting than I, and then like eye tests say Scott's like ridiculous sort of thing. And that's what obviously Xabi Alonso is looking at, like, this kid's can do what I want in a midfield. But I'm a pretty basic bitch when it comes to this stuff, and I've just done a lot of data comparison, and Wharton just sort of blows other people apart. Maybe not Anderson, but other people I've been looking at. We got a relationship with Crystal Palace as well. I think I would go for Adam Wharton personally. I think it's double six of Wharton and Caicedo would be excellent, and really, really well structured, and allows you to sort of build an amazing foundation, really, especially in front of the likes of, like, say a Colwell and Lacroix, and then maybe a Reece James is tucking in for a centre-back role as well if we want to get him in there, because you need to get him in there in some capacity. But that would be probably my preference. I'd go for Adam Wharton. And he'd be, I mean, it's for me, the hierarchy is the pricing as well. You got 116 for Anderson. They want about 100 for Wharton. I don't know, maybe they'd take like 90. And then, Alex Scott might be like 75, 80 million pounds. Do you know what I mean? So it's like ding, ding, ding. It like corresponds, if that makes sense, or correlates, should I say.
There was something really interesting right at the beginning of the window, because the Wharton links have quietened down for a while, but I've got a feeling that Wharton, very much like Morgan Rogers, is maybe something that's been going on and behind the scenes for a while, because we've got such a good relationship with Crystal Palace. It's less likely to be leaked. There was something that came out at the start of the window saying that Wharton's agent was trying to get Crystal Palace to lower his price so he could secure a move. So I think there might be something in that. I also think that there's something in the fact that Bidadi Eghbali gets called in for this negotiation with Crystal Palace, and I don't think that was just for a 50 mil max on Lacroix. Do you know what I mean? Like, the Morgan Rogers one made sense because that's a big deal. Do you know what I mean? That's a really, really, really big deal. Like you said, you know, we $1 million more than the Elliot Anderson deal. But I've just got this feeling that do you need Badad Igbali to come in to just negotiate what happens with Maxence Lacroix when you've agreed a price for him that's not crazy?
So it's a great point. Yeah, he throws his weight around with the big purchases, doesn't he? It was the same with Mudryk back in the day and Fernandez, I think. So when he's like, right, we're going to make a statement, we're going to put a big investment in, he sort of, it seems wanting to get involved. So that's probably a good observation.
I think it's also interesting that no one else is being linked to Adam Wharton at all.
I think Man United are a little bit, or they were, but yeah.
Yeah,
Real Madrid. I saw Real Madrid looking at him, but like,
wild.
You know what I mean? So, like, I mean? Like, where did? Yeah,
I agree with you.
I think I saw like Real Madrid. Today, AOL and Yahoo Sports, but yeah, and like, you know, Real Madrid target Adam Wharton, but yeah, I don't know how much truth there is in that.
He's the one that I agree with you. I think that profile wise, I think that midfield partnership of Moises Caicedo and Adam Wharton has got a bit of everything that you want. I think that Alex Scott is maybe more versatile than Wharton, so potentially he can also cover for Caicedo in that role as well as play the partner role to him kind of thing. And he's a bit more of like athletic and a ball carrier, whereas Adam Wharton is a bit less so. He's more of like Wharton's almost like a fit, good version of Lavia, isn't he? Like to an extent, like similar kind of profiles.
Yeah. And Lavia can be very useful in this season. Like, you can't rely on him just because you can't rely on him. But this could be the season where you could learn next season, can you rely on him? You know, so it's very interesting. You know, if we're back in the Champions League, God willing, then you'll need these players. You know. Yeah,
interesting with Lavia as well, because maybe this season is for him what last season was for Reece James. Like, last season was Reece James's first full season after myriad injuries and missing lots of time and stuff. And, you know, like I said, I thought it was interesting what Xabi Alonso said about the mental block. But no, I like Adam Wharton. Like, I think the Zubamendi noise is a little bit wild, but either way, I think what is fascinating here is all of these midfielders are nothing like Enzo Fernandez. I think, you know, to kind of circle it back, when you look at the midfielders we're being linked with, the profiles that supposedly Xabi Alonso is interested in, you know, Zubamendi, Ruiz, Alex Scott and Adam Wharton, and even Granit Xhaka. Do you know what I mean? Even Granit Xhaka, it's like you're not looking at an Enzo Fernandez style player here. So I think it all just kind of links back together. And obviously also Fabrizio did promise us the bomber, didn't he? He said that something important was going to be done in midfield, and I don't think that was Jordan Henderson.
No, because it was before Henderson. He said that, right? But and like you said, they're all functional midfielders. Where like Fernandez is like a finisher of moves almost, right? You know, we're talking about starter of moves and protectors of transitions. Yeah. Which you know, I mean, Fernandez could start a move and play a pass, but he's, you know, he never had any pace to lose. He's not, you know, he's not gonna throw in tackles, and he's not really gonna like shimmy between the half spaces, like, you know, like a sort of Kovacic or a Lavia, these kind of like press resistant progressors and carriers. He's not that. So yeah, like you say, it does seem kind of glaring in terms of profiling, or glaringly like doesn't look like it's going to fit, but a repurposing maybe. And look, at the end of the day, man, like there is a world where we don't sell Fernandez because we don't get the bid, and we just sit down and goes, right, I'm going to sit you next to Caicedo. You're going to do this, this, and this. Don't get too close to goal, and look for the wet runners. And Caicedo is going to give it to you. And you know, there was a time in there would have been times in our 3-4-3 under Conte. Obviously, the winning formula was the sort of dual destroyers of Matic and Kante. But there would have been games where. I don't know. Okay, like a real like good example here is Kante and Drinkwater. Now, this is going to sound very disrespectful to Enzo Fernandez. Comparing him to Daddy Drinkwater, but we're talking about a Premier League winning combination still here.
Yeah, it's true.
Kante gets the ball, gives it to Drinkwater, who plays in the runners. Yeah, Caicedo gives the ball, gives it to Enzo Fernandez, who plays in like the wing backs or short passes, you know, vertical through balls to the tens, and you know, like there is a world where that happens. But I wonder if the main plan for like dominance just doesn't involve a player like that, you know?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Drinkwater and Kante. I used to love what Ranieri said about them. He was like, I play Danny Drinkwater in the middle and N'Golo Kante either side. And
sounds about right.
With a player of, because this is the thing as well, is like that you want that midfielder to anchor the midfield to unlock Moises Caicedo a little bit more as well. Because albeit a pre-season game, you look at Lavia and Moises Caicedo, having a midfielder that was okay to keep his presence in midfield, so much like Lavia was, allows Moises Caicedo to drop deep and do long balls, or to get forward, or to score goals with the outside foot. Do you know what I mean? And you know, albeit Moises Caicedo is a fantastic ball winner and a great defensive player, ultimately he's got a lot more to his game than that. So having another guy that stays in midfield, doesn't leave Moises Caicedo isolated, actually allows us to get the best out of him as well.
Yeah, it was a bit that with Kenzo, wasn't it? When Maurizio Sarri was like, well, I'm going to play him as an 8, you know, get him forward and get him towards goal. No, there's a lot of strings to his bow, certainly. I mean, look, it's ultimately, it will come down to, look, if you can't sell him and he knows he can't go anywhere, just be like, you're going to have to try and get yourself into the team, mate. You know, that's just literally what it's going to be.
Yeah, man.
And we'll have to see what happens there. But like you say, in terms of like the grand scheme and building a midfield, which is where games are won and lost, it is finding that partner to Caicedo. I mean, a fully fit and confident Lavia could do absolute bits.
Yeah, for sure.
But to be honest, even without a purchase, I mean, I think young Coco Barco is probably a little bit lightweight. It'll be fascinating to see how we use him, because he obviously was originally a fullback, wasn't he? So there is still inversion from like wing backs in Alonso's system. So maybe there could be a bit of a left wing back going into midfield, but having him like anchoring, you know, a big midfield battle against like Arsenal or something like that. He comes up against like Declan Rice and Bruno Guimaraes. He's going to get stepped on. Do you know what I mean? And other big, you know, teams as well. There's like loads of other examples. But yeah, Lavia could do it. I mean, like we said earlier, man, I'd be fascinated to see his plan for Reece James ultimately. You know, Palestra might be playing on that flank because Palestra looked like he can combine with any of the wingers, you know, whether it was Kenda or Estevao.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah, he looked like he was just happy to. I'm been so impressed with him, man. I know we're not talking about wing backs, but in fact, he's been so impressive. Like, I watched his interview as well, and I loved how he held himself and spoke. He's only 21, and I was thinking, like this is a bit of a gem we got here, you know?
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know you're stretched for time, so that seems like a wicked place to wrap it up. But thanks very much for coming along, and
it's been a pleasure, man.
Enzo Fernandez, we'll see what happens. Me and you both agree I'd love to see Adam Wharton in the team, but either way, could just be Enzo Fernandez. So I guess we'll see what happens.
It could be Reece James, mate.
Yeah, true that.
Yeah.